Yomawari the Night Alone was a game that originally came out on the PC and Vita. However, due to its popularity, it got a port to consoles and even got a sequel. However, despite this, I have not seen a good video on YouTube explaining what the heck is going on in the city. And after waiting years and years for a video explaining what the heck is going on in Yomawari the Long Night, I have decided that
I'll do it myself.
So ladies and gents, let's go back to the cutest horror game ever. Before we talk about our protagonist, we have to talk about the paranormal stuff going around them. At first glance, the town looks like a medium-sized, almost modern town. However, looking deeper, there was way more to be analyzed. First, we can see that the town is going through construction, and it almost seems like it's going through its final stages of modernization. Not only that, but the construction is building new but never repairing the old. For instance, many of the temples of worship are very old and run down. That information alone tells us the mindset that residents are in, in with the new and out with the old, which is a very important detail because this mindset and actions of the townsfolk are the main reason there is spiritual chaos looming over the town at night. In many old religions and mythology, it is very common practice to make offerings to worship the spirits and gods. In return, spirits would bring you good fortune, protection, and health. And as we analyze the temples, we could see that the people no longer worship the mountain spirit. And if you guys don't know, the mountain spirit is the final boss you face in Yomawari the Night Alone. The mountain spirit many assume is based on the Japanese god Oyamatsumi, which is folklore describes it as the god of the mountains, sea, and war. And this spirit once protected the people of this town. However, once the people slowly forgot about it, the mountain spirit decided to no longer protect the people, allowing other dangerous spirits to roam the streets freely. And as the anger and resentment towards the town grew, it eventually became an evil spirit itself. Another powerful spirit you encounter is the Centipede. This spirit is huge, covering an entire shopping district with its body, and the spirit highly resembles that of the yokai called Omokade, which in the game it's protected the area, which is entirely a bit different from its mythological origins, which describes it as a huge man-eating centipede that inhabits the mountains. When you first encounter it in Night Alone, it tries to kill you since it thinks that you were trying to disrespect it by removing the salt. However, the centipede acknowledges its mistake and allows you to live, and it gives you the task to replace the removed salt by the spirit's hands. And at this point, you notice that these hands belong and associate with the mountain spirit, which makes you wonder why this mountain spirit would attack the centipede's territory. After all, it's not just a random attack, and the answer lies in the shrines. Unlike the abandoned shrines that belong to the mountain spirit, the centipede shrine is well kept and still being honored. The centipede in the shopping district is still prayed to and cared for. It's most likely prayed for good fortune and building and businesses. Some might see that protection as well, but I don't really think so, since you still encounter spirits in its territory that will kill you. I think the centipede most likely protects its own territory instead, rather than just protecting the people. As the town has been growing, we can see that the spirit that they only worship now is based on money and industry. This is basically what the centipede represents, and this is what has caused the mountain spirit to attack the centipede in retaliation, which tells us the mountain spirit and the centipede are more because, well, the mountain spirit is obviously, I guess you could say, jealous of the centipede itself. One thing to note though is that this feud might not last any longer, since it's mentioned in the centipede's territory is going to be demolished soon in the winter. This is something that you will encounter once you finish the game of Yomawari the Night Alone. And this is interesting because it might cause one of two things. The centipede spirit will disappear and no longer exist in the area, or something even worse might happen, which would be that the centipede might get angry and join in with the mountain spirit attacking the town's residents. Now, there isn't any clear explanations as to what this spirit is, however we do get some hints on what it could be. There are two popular theories as to what it could be. And the first is that the spirit acts on its own will, and its main goal is to kidnap children roaming around the streets, as it's stated in the game's folklore. Now, this is something that is further backed up because once you visit its lair, you might notice something very interesting. It is full of spirits of children, and why it particularly kidnaps children is not really clear, which makes Yomawari just more mysterious and even more creepier. Now, a second theory is that Mr. Yomawari is actually different spirits, which are composed of different deceased townsfolk. That explains about 3 things. The first would be, it's the reason why you see so many different Yomawari randomly across the town. And secondly, it also explains why sometimes when you encounter the spirit, it is completely indifferent to you. I mean, there are some times where it tries to kidnap you, and there are times where it just disappears when you get close to it. Lastly, if you recall, after escaping the factory and Night Alone, you encounter Yomawari at your house, which obviously catches the girl by surprise as it thought that the house was a safe space. To the girl's surprise, the Yomawari doesn't attack or kidnap her. Instead, it leaves you a note for you on how to find your sister, which is odd for a spirit to do. I mean, what gains could Yomawari possess from doing this? Unless this Yomawari in particular that resides outside and inside the house is the girl's mom, as it is mentioned that her mother is dead. If you guys do recall through your playthrough, you'll often find there's a Yomawari waiting for you outside your house, and it always disappears as soon as you get close to it. In my opinion, this could be the MC's mother basically watching over her children. Interesting enough, when you guys finish the game and talk to your sister, she mentions that she senses a spirit in your house. However, she doesn't describe the spirit as non-threatening, and she feels okay with it, which is pretty much big evidence that this could be their mother, but still, it's not solid enough to actually make a conclusion. And that pretty much summarizes why there's a lot of different things going on anymore in the Long Night. It's a really hectic town. There's a lot of different stuff that I missed. I know there's a lot of Easter eggs. I won't be covering each one specifically because there's just so many. I'll be making a part 2 to this video because there's a lot of stuff that I definitely missed with the protagonists of both Midnight Shadows and Night Alone. They have their own thing going on in the background. I didn't know this until I read more forums, and I was like, wow, I can't believe the game didn't tell you these things straight up, but this game is very vague, and I think that's the way it's meant to be. I'm not sure if that was because the production couldn't make more money to, make it a longer game, or just because it's an indie game, but there's a lot of stuff that is definitely not straight up said, and I would love to make a video about it, kind of just going over what kind of goes on in the background of the protagonist's life. So anyways, that's it pretty much for today, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.